Well, welcome to the Stone Roadie podcast. It's the one you don't want to miss. It stars Craig Reed, the Stone Roadie, and Griff, the rocket scientist. Let's not forget Kathy Godsey and all the old friends that come along. Lord, we'll be talking Skynyrd and leaving you with a song.
Podcast 78, action. Alrighty then, looky here, and welcome once again to the 78th edition of the Stoned Roadie Show. And my name's Craig Reed, aka the Stoned Roadie, and this is my co-host, the rocket scientist, Griff Martin. And what we got going on this week there, Griff?
Well, we don't have any guests today. It's just me and Craig freestyling here. And usually when we do that, we talk about things that we did in the past, or we bring you some questions and maybe some skin information. So today I just thought we'd probably ask Craig some questions. I put up a thing on Facebook, and then there's a few of them here on YouTube that we can ask. And I just wanted to thank everybody for not slamming me too hard on my little sob story on the last podcast, where I told my story how I got involved with Lynyrd Skynyrd. We only had one guy who was naysaying me, and but the rest were
I thought that was a very inspirational speech there, Griff. But there was one guy that said, Craig, who in the hell was that guy that talked for a half an hour about himself on that last podcast? This is a podcast about Lynyrd Skynyrd. And who in the hell was that guy telling his sob story for a half an hour?
And you can't be mad at the guy, because there's always one guy, and I'm usually that one guy. So, we have to take up for that one guy. So,
but I read 3 or 4 podcasts where I found people found it to be quite inspirational. I thought that one guy had Parkinson's, and
Oh yeah, he said that I motivated him. He sent me a real nice email and told me that I was motivational to him. And so, the Lynyrd Skynyrd plane crash, a lot of people think it's all negative, but there's a lot of people there's good things that came from that crash, even though there's a lot of horrible, terrible things that came from it. There's a lot of good things that came from it. And like I said, I'm one of them. So, but we don't want to get off onto that tangent again and start crying in our beer. We got some questions. We got one question on here. It's got from Shellman Brandon, whoever that is, and asking Craig to describe personality traits of the guys in the band. What did they contribute to the band with their personalities, as far as positivity? And then what's some of the liabilities that the guys brought to the band? So what do you think about that question, Craig?
Oh boy, that's one I ought to been informed of before we started this one. That's a little rough one, that's a little above my pay scale for that one.
you almost need to be not high to answer that one, right, Craig?
That's some kind of
well, I mean, I think I could probably answer that. I mean, those guys, all the positive part of what they brought, they all had their own unique abilities, and they that's what made them Lynyrd Skynyrd, each one of them. And then the negative, I would say just go back and start watching all the podcasts, and that'll answer your question, right? Because there's 77 stories on there of those guys and all the things that they were doing, good and bad, probably more bad than good. I don't know.
Well, I think everybody knows that Ronnie was the driving force behind the whole situation, but if you watch people's individual interviews as you know, after the plane crash and whatever, you know, like Gary, you know, he talks about, you know, how they all just you know, they quit school. You know what I mean? They all had a dream, and you know, they all, you know, took it very seriously, and they, you know, they all said, "Hey, you know, we're going to make it as musicians, and we're going to quit school." You know, so that's a pretty bold statement, you know, and you know, to have enough faith in yourself to do something like that, you know, especially, you know, a bunch of poor kids from Jacksonville having enough faith in themselves to do something like that. That's you know, quite an accomplishment. I'm very impressed with that. You know, Alan and none of them had any real that I know had any real what do you say
talent when they first started?
No, from their parents, you know, what's the word? Inspiration from their parents, like, yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can do it or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, they all of their parents go, you know, it's a nice hobby, but you gotta have a job,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
I mean, you know, you know, like, grow up, you know, you gotta have you know, that's a nice something that's nice to do as a hobby, but you'll never make a living at it, you know. And you know, it was I actually watched their parents actually have to eat their words, you know.
Oh, you got
Especially,
to see that. Yeah. You
yeah,
got to see
especially
that.
like Larkin Collins with Alan Collins, you know. It's just like, you know, and Gary, you know, with his Gary's the one that really surprised me, because he was like a mama's boy, you know, and I'm surprised that his mother let him quit school like that and go on like that, you know. That surprises me a lot, you know.
Well, probably where they screwed up was they ended up having Ronnie as their leader, because Ronnie wasn't about to let them fail. You know, he probably stayed on that ass. And that's, I think, probably the single most driving force of that whole band was Ronnie, maestroing that whole thing and keeping those guys in line. You know, I mean, if you messed up, then the guy was on your ass. So, which brings me to another question, which is on the Facebook when I put up a thing for answering questions to the STONED Roadie, and we had Greg Lindemann. It's a pretty long thing here where he writes, "Hey, Griff, I stand corrected," because he was telling me about when the guys, he says Alan and Billy also quit the same time Ed King quit. And Craig and I was kind of going over that a little bit before we got on here, and he had his itinerary out and everything. And when Ed King quit, Craig, you were right across his room at the hotel, right?
Yeah,
Ed.
Ed's room was right across the hallway from mine. It was I remember it wasn't like right across the hallway. It was kind of like an atrium, or whatever you want to call it, where there's like an elevator atrium,
Right,
or whatever.
yeah.
And it was kind of like the elevator was there, and my room was here, and Ed was over here, and the elevator was over there, and I heard Ronnie beating on Ed's door, you know, screaming at him, and you know, Ed wouldn't come to the door, you know, and I kind of just, you know, kind of stayed out of it, you know. So you know, everything calmed down, and I woke up the next morning, and I looked out the peephole, and I saw the maid there at Ed's room, you know. So I opened the door and went over there, and he was gone. You know, he was early in the morning. Ed was he got up in the morning and left. And
well, yeah, Greg Lindemann says on the pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd page that Ed King wasn't the only one to walk out that night, as Alan Collins and Billy Powell also quit the band that night on May 27th, 1975. and you guys were playing in Pittsburgh, PA, that night, and according to this, there were a couple shows canceled right after that. Do you remember anything about that, Craig? Do you believe that Billy and Alan quit too?
I remember. No, I don't. I kind of remember something about when we did go home, because here's my itinerary, and on Sunday, May the 25th, we were in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then Monday the 26th was the day off in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and supposedly that's when Chuck and Ronnie got arrested, and then Chuck was Ronnie's or Ed King's guitar roadie, and I guess then on the 26th, the 26th was the day off. I guess that's the day they got arrested, and then the 27th, that was the show in Pittsburgh, and we were at the Holiday Inn. No, Holiday Inn. We were at the Howard Johnson Chatham Center, and
So that was after the concert that he quit, right? Because his strings broke and
Ronnie, I guess Ronnie got on Ed pretty hard about his breaking the strings, and Ed, and it says here that Golden Earring was our opening act, and I guess Ronnie got on Ed pretty hard about breaking strings, and Ed said, "Well, you had my guitar roadie in
in jail.
Guys were locked up, and he didn't change my strings." And I don't know. I guess maybe Ronnie thought maybe Ed should have changed his own strings or whatever. But yeah, there was quite a ruckus going on after the show. Then on the 27th, and yeah.
But when you got up the next morning, Craig, what do you remember about that morning when you got up and I mean, of course, Ed was missing, and Alan and Gary were talking about it, right? They were there too, and Billy. So Billy and Alan, do you remember them being there?
Well, this doesn't make any sense. That would have been had to have been the day off,
Yeah, because he says,
did we play this show in Pittsburgh? We played this show in Pittsburgh, but the next day would have been the 28th, and we would have left to go to Buffalo. We wouldn't have stayed at the hotel.
Yeah, he says in this article, the article says Alan Collins was at home in Jacksonville on May 28th. He rang Larry Steele and said he had a bushel of oysters and a quart of Jack Daniels, and he suggested Larry Steele come over. When Larry asked what he was doing home, Alan told him that Ed King, Billy Powell, and himself had quit the band. When Larry asked why, Alan said, "Man, you just can't imagine how bad it gets out there. Ed finally got sick of it, and so did I." Is that something that you...
I kind of remember a little bit about that, but I don't know. I'm trying to piece this together. I don't know. Maybe we should have talked about this more before we started this. 'Cause
yeah,
this says on Sunday, May the 25th in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Santana was headlining, and we were at the Eastern Michigan University campus. 35,000 people, and Santana was headlining.
Well, but it was the 27th when they quit, so that was before.
Yeah, That was in Pittsburgh. After the show, when all that happened,
Yeah.
But then the next day, I don't
Larry
know. I'm
said by the
confused
next
about
morning, Alan was aching to get back. As it turned out, Billy returned, and it was only Ed King that didn't return. Skynyrd played 2 of the shows. They canceled on May 30th and 31st, 1975, Buffalo, New York. The Americana Hotel, New York, May 31st, 1975, only 3 days before Ed, Alan, and Billy had quit the band and Alan had gone home. Here we see both Alan and Billy are back. So maybe there's something to it.
Well, this says on the 28th, we were at the Holiday in Midtown. And at the 29th, we were supposed to also be in the Holiday in Midtown. And then on the 31st, 29th.
Well, maybe we can.
30th was a day off, the Holiday in Midtown in New York, Buffalo, New York. And then Saturday, Buffalo to Utica, New York, 197 miles, and we were at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, so according to this, there were those couple of those shows were canceled. So it was a long time ago, Craig. How are you supposed to remember that shit, man?
Yeah.
So, hey, if anybody was at any of or at the show on the 27th, yeah, send me an email, go on to supportsurvivors.net and hit that contact button and send me an email if you were there, and maybe we can straighten some of this out. But this article might be right,
All I remember is Ronnie was beating on Ed's door, and Ed wouldn't answer the door. And like I said, I got up the next morning and I looked out the peephole, and the maid was there in Ed's room, and I went over and Ed was gone. And I think I called the road manager and said, hey, Ed's gone. His luggage and everything's gone. And then that's all I remember. All I remember is looking out the peephole and going over there, and Ed was gone. That's all really all I remember. And then I do remember something about Billy and Alan being,
but you know how sometimes when one person jumps ship, and if everybody's tired, it's not hard to follow that other one, but they probably realized that Ronnie was going to kick their ass and they better come back. So Ed was the only one who didn't have that realization. So I would think that's probably some true information. But if anybody knows different, contact me, supportsurvivors.net, and we'll comb through it. And so back here at the top of these questions, get you off the hook here, Craig. How's the convoy coming along? Lori Shoemaker asks.
Oh yeah, we're making arrangements to get our Winnebago from one of a couple of different places. Me and Automotive are gonna get a Winnebago. Yeah, we got quite a few people that are interested in following us down there. Got a guy coming down through from Canada that is going to hook up with us, and got quite a few people that are going to, meet us on the way down. I think we're just going to deadhead it. We're going to leave here on the ceremony down there is on the 20th, so we'll probably leave here on the 18th, probably maybe late the 18th or whatever, the 18th, and then we'll travel, just deadhead it down there and get down there and maybe get a hotel down there, and then get there in time to do the thing on the 20th. It's not scheduled yet, but we'll probably make 4, 5, 6, maybe more stops on the way down there, so give people time to meet up with us. Make a half-hour stop or an hour stop on the way down there. So it'll probably take us. I think it's a 12-hour drive down there, and it'll probably by stopping and then everything, it'll probably end up taking us probably 20 hours to get down there. So we'll leave on the 18th probably and get down there on the 19th, and then get ready to do everything on the 20th or whatever. Yeah, it's all going to be in the schedule.
Yeah. So for people that don't really know what we're talking about, on this coming anniversary date of the plane crash, we've been kind of going to the monument up there and working with those guys. And Craig has never been back to the plane crash site and seen the monument since it happened. And so this is his first time back, and we're going to do it up right. Craig's going to start a convoy from where he lives, and people can join in on the way down there. It's going to be October 20th this year, and that's the anniversary. Of course, it was 77 when it happened. So we're going to bring more information as far as that goes, but there's going to be some cool celebrations down there at the monument. If you haven't ever been there, you might want to join us. You get to meet the STONED Roadie, and there's going to be a lot of other folks there too. So it's going to be a really cool time. And I was talking to my buddy Latrell Metter, the guy who took me back to the crash site. I think that was on podcast 76. You guys want to go watch 76, and I go to the crash site, and we were setting things up for Craig. Well, Latrell Metter, he was asking me, he said, "Hey, there's a lot of bikers around there that would love to have a reason to get a group of bikers together, and maybe they'll meet you at the border there, Mississippi, Craig, and they can do a run. We'll call it riding for a reason or something like that, and they can be an escort for you." So
yeah, we've got quite a few people that are going to meet us. I think our route we begin somewhere around I think it's 80, I think, across Ohio, and 71 and 80 right there kind of meet, and then we're going to go down 71 through Columbus, and I think that's our initial route. Then I'm not really sure what our route will be down, but that's where we're kind of going to start from, down 71 south through Ohio and down through Columbus and stuff. And, well, Columbus is what am I talking about? Columbus, Cincinnati. We'll go down through Cincinnati. Cincinnati is about 4 hours from where we're going to start. So we'll probably, maybe I think we have to go maybe through Dayton or something like that. Maybe we'll stop in Dayton, and then we'll stop in Columbus or Cincinnati, and then I don't know where our next stop might be. I'll have to look at a map. I really haven't really thought this through very much. We just thought we'd go down there, and then we just kind of thought, man, that'd be pretty cool, because I have CB radios and stuff. We thought, well, that'd be pretty cool if we just have a convoy down there and bring back all the old CB radios. Of course, everybody's got cell phones now, but not everybody knows everybody's cell phone number, So if you get on channel 19 now, and all you got to do is go to the Walmart and pick up a portable CB and use it on the way down there and on the way back. When you get home, take it back to Walmart and tell them you didn't like it and get your money back.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have their feelings hurt if they did that.
I used to do that all the time when I was on the road and I needed to travel somewhere. I'd go to Walmart and get one of them portable CBs, and then go to wherever I was going and take it back. And then, I don't like this thing.
Well, hey, didn't we talk about maybe getting Mitch Scooby to drive the Winnebago?
Yeah. No, not a well, yeah, Winnebago maybe. Well, me and Automotive can, and we've got several people that would say, "Man, I'll pitch in and ride with you." I don't know. It's all still in the planning, but we'd like to get that's October. This is only September, June, July, August, September, October.
Yeah.
We got quite a bit of time left. As we get to closer to the date, we'll secure things more, and we might move up to a bus. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's people even coming from Canada down. This one girl here, who's, as a matter of fact, she's got a question for you. Berta Black, I believe she's from Canada, and I think she told me she's gonna be at the monument there to meet you. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, she's got a question for it. Now, we've already talked about this question, which there's always people wanting to know about, was Ronnie getting ready to divorce Judy? And of course they say Craig had the divorce papers in his briefcase, and so she asked that question, was Ronnie really going to divorce Judy? And I mean, I think we talked about on one of the other podcasts. What do you know about that, Craig, just so we can clarify that?
Oh, it wasn't really something that it was on the top of my know everything about it list, but I don't really, there's a lot of things that I just don't remember about that era, that whole thing. And,
well, what did you have in your briefcase?
I don't remember. Like I said before, people said that I had those papers in my briefcase, and all I remember is when I woke up in the hospital, Peter Rudge came into my room and really needed to get into my briefcase. Him and some other guy needed to get into my briefcase, and I don't know why. I just told him how to get into my briefcase, and
which kind of brings me back to back on podcast 76, and which is a really interesting podcast. We had a lot of guys there, and they had some artifacts that they had found at the crash site, and one of them, which at the time I didn't realize because I didn't talk to Craig yet because I wanted to surprise him. We thought that Latrell Metter had found one of Craig's stage passes and then when I showed it to Craig later on, or when he saw the video, and he said, no, that was a baggage tag.
Luggage
right,
tag, yeah. Yeah.
Where did you have your briefcase when you were on the plane playing cards when it went down? Do you think that was the tag? Do you know how
which briefcase? My God, I had two Hartmans, and then I had a Halliburton camera case, and then I had another Anvil camera flight case with a bunch of stuff. God, I think I had 8 or 10 suitcases on that airplane. Like I said, I was going through a divorce, and I had everything I owned in Jacksonville that I wanted to keep, I took with me, and I was going to drop off. We were playing here in Ohio, where I am now, and I had everything that I wanted to keep. I was going to bring and store up here at this house in Ohio, and when we came through here. So I had, I don't know, about 8 suitcases with me. If you look at a lot of those film footage from the plane crash, you'll see a bunch of silver Halliburton suitcases, and the aluminum ones. Those are real expensive ones. Those were all mine. And you can see those being loaded onto the plane. I had a lot of, I'm always known to be overpack.
And we did actually find some video footage. I think it was from one of your movies that had some footage of that briefcase.
That was that blue Anvil briefcase that they took a screwdriver and popped the lock on it. That was the Channel 4 news thing, and it said the search even extended into the passenger's luggage, and they at the same time took a screwdriver and popped it, and when it flipped over, you could read on the luggage tag.
Oh, that of course that could have been the one that they found. Could have been any one of those, I suspect. But you wrote your name on the back all of those tags, right?
Oh, I don't
somebody
know.
else
That was long. I probably did. It looks like my handwriting.
Yeah. So to answer that question, Berta, Craig doesn't remember. He doesn't know. I mean, if he had the divorce papers, I think that's something you would remember, don't you, Craig?
I don't know. I've had 5 divorces myself, so
Yeah, well, I know we talked about that before, but it's so long ago, people don't realize, they're talking to the Stoned Roadie, and half the time you guys were all pretty messed up, and it was such a long time ago. But there's some things that Craig really does vividly remember, and sometimes I'm really impressed by some of the stuff that he does remember. But stuff like that, it's kind of hard to put a finger on.
It's been 50 years. I mean, I sold some stuff last week on eBay, and I changed my this is from my 45-year Lynyrd Skynyrd Survivor collection to this is my 50-year Lynyrd Skynyrd Survivor collection, because I started with them in 1973. So that's 50 years.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's just hard to believe. It's just hard to believe that this band,
which kind of it brings me to Craig and I both, we kind of get on the hot plate, about things we do. One of them Craig recently did was that selling of the funeral brochure. I mean, he took all kinds of shit for that. I mean, I called Craig and I said, "Hey, Craig, man, what the hell's going on?" He's like, "What?" And I said, "People are like, they're calling me up. They're blowing my phone up, wanting to know about this funeral brochure you're selling." He goes, "Yeah, what about it?" And I go,
"Oh, you don't think I knew? You don't think I knew? You don't think I knew all hell was going to break loose when I did that?" But I knew what I was going to do with it. I knew I was going to donate the money, so I knew I was going to make them all eat their words. So. Just go ahead and call. Yeah. Tell me how I was going to steal the pennies off a dead man's eyes.
And see, Craig, people look at me like I'm going to go, no, he didn't do that. When really what I do is I sit back and enjoy it. You know what I mean? I'm like, Craig and I have never even had an argument about anything, because I don't try to control what Craig does. It's more like entertainment for me, doing this podcast with Craig, because anything can happen anytime, and it's just great entertainment for me. So, yeah, I watched that whole thing play out, and then they were jumping.
Go back on Facebook and look and see who the first persons were that were throwing the spears at me too.
Yeah, actually, and I'll go ahead and tell the story. I don't mind, because, Chad was talking to Judy Van Zant, and she was actually considering coming on the podcast. And, and I was like, "Hey, that's great. I'd love to interview Judy. I think having her on the podcast would be," Craig was okay with it. And so, we had her like right on the edge, and she was getting ready to come on. And then Craig did the funeral brochure thing. And then overnight, everybody hated his guts. And so so that kind of blew that whole thing. And Chad called me and goes, "Man, I can't believe he did that." And I've been trying to patch things up with Judy, and it was moving in that direction, and he just undid everything. So so Judy, sorry about that. If you're listening, I don't know if she even watches this, but yeah, we love to have you on there, Judy. So please forgive us for that. But it all turned out well, because Craig ended up. How much did you get for that funeral brochure, Craig?
Well, I don't remember, $760, I think, or something like that. But eBay takes 10 or so percent right off the top, and then you have fees and taxes. After eBay takes their cut, the government takes their cut, and then
Yeah.
I think I come up with about, I think it made about 600 in profit or something like that.
And so then what did you do with that money, Craig?
Well, I sent Mark. I just wanted to keep the figures even, so I sent Mark Howard $500. And
Which Mark Howard has been. Yeah, he's been
going
going
have to
through
send
a lot
all the other people 500 now, and I'm still trying to get YouTube to accept my. I'm trying to. I can't get them to verify my tax information. They keep telling me my tax information is wrong, and they won't pay me until I get my tax information correct. And I'm really not sure how much we've made so far, but whenever they straighten it out, but they take 30% tax right off the top. So that's why I'm telling people that, I don't really want people to donate money through YouTube, because YouTube's just going to take 30% of it. I'd rather YouTube, if we get 100,000 to 200,000, 500,000, 1 million subscriptions, man, we could support all the survivors, with 1 million subscriptions.
But Craig's trying to say is there's a donate button on, if you look at the down there by the comments, there's a donate button you can hit, and I think you can donate as little as
there's a thumbs
$5.
up. There's a thumbs up, and there's some down, and then there's another button, and then there's a like. I don't know what it is, but if you click on it, it starts out with 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500, or whatever, And there are people that have donated. I can see it on the little sheet there, but like I said, YouTube takes 30% of that.
But what we do want to do is make sure you guys subscribe, because we do want to get paid for the subscriptions, because that's what we're trying to raise the money through is YouTube, even though they do tax it. The subscriptions, are what's going to get the survivors paid. So, and that's what Craig's talking about. We're starting to make some money through YouTube with the podcast, but Craig's trying to straighten out what the best thing to do with the money is before we get it to the survivors. So keep hitting that subscribe button and the like button, and I don't know, I might blow it right here, but I don't think we've ever had anybody hit a thumbs down. That's kind of unheard of. Especially after my last little sob story of 77. So.
Especially the way people hate me on Facebook. I'm surprised they don't just come over.
Yeah, well, but I think people are starting to realize that we're trying to do a good thing, and so hit that subscribe button, and that's what that Rockin' for a Reason's all about on the 29th. Gene Odom started that thing, and we're all going to be there. Craig's going to be there July 29th down in Jacksonville. If you go to the supportsurvivors.net page and look for Rockin' for a Reason, click on that. It's got all the information that you need to know there, and all of that money goes to the survivors, that anything that's above and beyond the expenses. So, and it's going to be a great jam. We just went over a lot of things on the last podcast. So if you missed it, go back and look at the last podcast where they describe all about, and we'll be bringing you back more information. So yeah, it's going to be a cool event.
Yeah. And I've never gone live on YouTube. So I was going to go live the other day and just try to do a little test and see how what we're going to have to use to do a live simulcast of that.
That reminds me, Craig. I remember when you went live on Facebook one time when you were drunk. You remember that?
No.
And Craig was telling me a story about how he went to a party the other day and and he got a little, because Craig doesn't drink anymore, really. Every now and then, like you just went to a party the other night, Craig, right? And weren't you crawling to the car?
Yeah.
I wish Sammy would have videoed that, but I heard he was too drunk to do that too. So
Sammy was my designated driver, and we both needed a ride home.
Craig said Sammy threw up. I didn't.
My buddy had a nice collection of very expensive bourbon, and I did.
So when you guys come to the Rockin' for a Reason, bring your designated driver. Make sure he doesn't drink, because I'm sure there is going to be some things to drink there. So, bring your designated driver and get you a hotel and make sure that everybody knows where they're staying. So. But so back to the questions, and this is kind of like a follow-up on the Ed King quitting thing. Erwin Candlesdorfer's wanting to know, did Ronnie regret chewing out for Ed for screwing up Freebird because he broke his strings? And technically it was Ronnie's fault because the guitar tech was in jail. And there was a little bit of question about who the guitar tech was. It was Chuck Flowers, the guy that killed himself, right, Greg?
Yeah.
So what the heck were they doing to get thrown in jail?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
that was one of the what was it, 8 times Ronnie said he'd been thrown in jail or something like that?
No, 11 times 11? I've been busted, 11 times I've been to jail, but then he thought about it. It was actually a dozen.
Oh. So was the song written after this time he was thrown in jail?
I guess that would have been a dozen, yeah.
What do you think he regretted? Did he ever talk to you about
No.
No. As a matter of fact, I think everybody but Ronnie called Ed, and I think I remember an interview with Ed saying, Gary called him, Alan called him and said, "Hey man, come on back." And he said the only person that didn't call him was Ronnie. So
it caused an issue. It really left a hole in the set, and Gary and Alan really had to figure out what to do to fill that hole, and that's where the thing where the bloodbath in Germany came from. When we went to Germany without Ed, and Ronnie got mad at Gary, and cut his hands all up, because they needed that third guitar player. And
so that's what you think started that whole thing, huh?
Well, I don't. Yeah, well, it was just Gary and Alan, and
a lot of stress on the band without having Ed.
Well, I don't know what the deal was, but yeah.
Well, they were trying to work out the parts where, who was going to play Ed's part, and it kind of put him, because I do remember an interview with Gary saying, he left them high and dry, and they had to figure out how to work his parts in, and they didn't have much time to do that. All right, moving along. Frank Owensby, he wants to know, how was the Roadies paid? In cash, in check, and how often?
We got a check every week. I was on salary, so I got paid whether we worked or not. So we didn't make a whole bunch of money, on salary, but I got bonuses a lot. I got pretty good bonuses, but we didn't make a tremendous amount of money weekly, like I said, but at the end of the tour, I got pretty good bonuses. I guess everybody did.
Now you were like given several cars too by a lot of the band members and things.
About 4 cars, yeah.
Didn't Ronnie give you? What did Ronnie give you? Didn't he?
Well, he didn't give me the Mercedes, but he signed for it.
Oh, okay. So what, you made payments on it?
Mm-hmm.
And then Alan, of course, he gave you the car that's out in your yard now.
Yeah, Alan gave me the Tornado, and Gary gave me the Jeep and the Plymouth, and then Leon gave me a 64 Malibu.
So kind of like working for Lynyrd Skynyrd, there were some perks of getting like free vehicles and things like that. But I think you told me basically all expenses were paid when you were on the road, right, Craig? And you know, they fed you the meals and all the rooms and everything. It's just like you were paid. You were actually given a place to live touring, right? You know, that was your place
it was
to stay.
all expenses paid, and then we got a per diem. We got back then we got $20 a day per diem, which was $140 a week for food, and we that was more or less, we saved that money to buy pot and stuff. You didn't never need to spend any money for food because we got fed 3 meals a day, and then on days off we usually had some kind of function with the band where there was food available. So very rarely did you have to ever spend money on food. So
pull your mic up to you there, Craig, a little bit. Did the Honkettes get paid?
Yeah.
What'd they get paid? You know?
I don't know what their salary was. They probably made more than we did. Probably made more than the crew guys did, or maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't know what.
Because it seemed like I saw an interview with JoJo, and she said that they didn't really get paid. They just kind of like went along on the tour, and it was all expenses paid, and it was just like a good time for them. But you know more about that than I do. Anyway, we just got a couple more questions here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Alan Rosemeyer, my question is about the tribute tour, specifically June of 1988. Now, Alan, you may not get this question answered, but Greg will do his best. Skynyrd played Atlanta Fulton County Stadium at last minute, changed the stage. Also, I think Ed was sick and was replaced by Neil Schon from Journey for that show only. Does that make sense to you?
No.
He says, does he remember anything about the show? Very large crowd. I got drunk and don't remember much about, but they were filming the show and people on the Jumbotron. I think, Alan, you might have had a little bit too much to drink. That
Greg Martin filled in for Ed there for a period when Johnny broke Ed's finger, and Ed had to get a replacement. Greg Martin filled in for Ed at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that broken finger, unless you can talk about it real fast. How did Gary break Ed's finger?
Gary didn't break his finger. Johnny did.
Oh, Johnny did.
Johnny took a swing at Ed and hit Ed in the finger and busted the tip on Ed's finger.
Oh, what were they arguing about?
Who knows?
Okay, that was the tribute band then. Yeah. In 88. Okay. While in England, did Craig meet any of the Monty Python guys?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember. I may have. I don't remember.
Okay, that was Danny Barron, and he also asked, can he talk about the whistle test?
The old gray whistle test?
Yeah, it sounded like Ronnie had a cold, and I did notice Ronnie did sound like he had a cold when he did that whistle test. You remember anything about that? Maybe it was
I
cocaine cold.
I remember doing the old gray whistle test, but that was our first trip to Europe, and And I was really just a rookie roadie at that point to start with, and doing TV stuff was kind of really foreign to me. So I was kind of, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, Ronnie, he sounded like he had a little bit of a cold. Okay, last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. And I just got a little information I'm going to disseminate before we get off. Craig, have you ever met Wavy Gravy out on the road, or at least heard of him? He's a psychedelic relic, temple of accumulated error and nobody's clown. You know who Wavy Gravy is? He was
not a clue.
Yeah. Yeah, he was at Woodstock, I believe, that guy, Wavy Gravy. He had great ties to the Grateful Dead. And okay. So there you have it. That's going to complete the questions for the Stoned Roadie. And just wanted to add that this weekend coming up, Craig and I are going to be supporting Zach Lane and his band. What's the name of Zach's band? You know, Craig?
No, I forget.
Yeah. Anyway, Zach's in, Slicks and Revolver with Brandon Miller, but when he's home, he does gigs in his hometown with his band, his Zach Lane band, and we're going to be at 474 Lakeside Dock Drive in Kingsport, Tennessee, on 6/10, which is this coming Saturday. Starts at 7:00. Somebody did ask in here in the questions about if he brings his guitar down there, will you sign it? If he brings his guitar down there, Craig, would you sign it?
Yeah, I'll sign it. And I got a bunch of my new business cards made up too. And I'll be giving these away down there at the thing. I'll be giving them away down at the Jacksonville thing too. And then I sign them on the back, So I'm going to pre-sign a bunch of them so I don't have to do it.
So you guys show up, 474 Lakeside Dock Drive in Kingsport, Tennessee. Starts at 7. If you're going to get a room there, you better do it pretty soon, because I had a little trouble getting a room myself. I think I have like a 20-minute drive from it's near the Bristol Speedway, so that's where it's at. But love to meet you guys there. So I guess that's gonna wrap us up, Craig, and and we'll be seeing you guys that want to come out and see us Saturday night. Looking forward to that. Other than that, we'll be back on next Wednesday.
All righty then. That's another episode of the Stoned Roadie Show. And I guess
it's a happy trails time.
Oh, yeah, but you do the recorded one now.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But, yeah, I can do happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, and may the good Lord take a liking to you. Until next week, we're out of here. See you, bye.
Let's see you next time.
And
all right, on the road with Griff Martin, and I'm in Inverness, Florida, where Gene Odom lives, and I'm driving Gene's car. So he can take Jimmy Withers' truck back to Jacksonville. Check out what Gene's got on the back of his windshield here. In memory of my memory. So this is where Gene hangs out in his neighborhood to get his gas and his lottery tickets. And let's go over here and see what Gene's doing over here. Gene, what the hell are you doing, man? That wasn't any good?
Feeding the birds.
Yeah? What's our plan today? We're gonna go take Jimmy's truck back to Jacksonville and get it worked on so you can get your truck back, right?
Yeah.
Did you win anything on the lottery tickets?
I won the chance to play again.
I don't know what it is about me and Gene and vehicles that overheat, because when first time I met Gene and we did that West Side tour, he was in his lady friend's truck, Linda, and that damn truck overheated, and here we go again with a Jimmy Withers truck, but we're gonna be all right, ain't we, Gene?
Yeah.
Could put a little coolant in there, and then
I hope I just throw a little cool.
it might just be Gene Odom luck, but
Yeah, probably.
but then you throw Griff in there, and then it's Griff and Gene.
Yeah.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep token until then. Yeah, the Road Stony Show.